What is on your face?
Man, listen.
Brian, what's on his face?
Listen, okay.
The domino.
Wrong Jeffrey. Man, no, listen. So, I have crossed over the threshold to 48. And,
Woo!
48, brother. I'm knocking on
You
50.
said the number out loud.
I did. It's it is what it is, man.
It is what it is.
I'm the elder statesman of our group here. And I prided myself growing up on having 20/20 vision. And
Unless those are for aesthetic purposes,
Right.
you don't have 20.
I don't no longer, bro. Here's the thing. I have been fighting it, I think, for the last 2 years. And
Are they glasses or are they readers?
they're readers right now. I need to go and
They're
get
readers. So
they're
you
readers.
are wearing old people glasses.
I am
right
wearing
now.
Yeah, this isn't a fashion statement, brother.
You look cool though. I thought you were going for like I got my PhD, but I'm a hipster.
Oh, yeah, no.
Vibe going on.
This is, I got my PhD and all that reading messed up
blurred
my
vision.
It did. And so now, brother, I am stuck trying to read words on the paper. And it's been bad. There's been times, Brent, like I'll be preaching someplace.
You can't see your notes. You're making stuff up. Hey, let's be honest. We've all made a bunch of stuff.
Oh, bro, I'm not even lying, man. And my wife has like fashionable readers.
Mm-hmm.
So at home, she would say, "Hey, Jeff, you need to wear these." And it's like, oh, great. But I would never go and buy them.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, well, just take some of mine. I'm like, hey, you have like the big cheetah, big goggle glasses.
Yeah.
I'm not rocking those.
No.
And so,
Please don't.
yeah, no, don't worry, I won't. And so this is, Walmart specials here,
All right.
and so.
I like it though.
Well,
I
thank you.
like it. I think it's very distinguished.
Well, thank you. I just want our listeners to know it is all a necessity.
Yeah, no, hey, listen, if you were rebranding yourself, I wasn't gonna hate. I mean,
Yeah, no, it's just acknowledging the old manness, and it takes me about 30 minutes to get out of the bed. I have to stretch and
don't say that. You don't have to.
I'm really not lying on that either. It takes a minute. You gotta do Pilates when you roll out of bed.
I got my Pilates alarm clock going on.
Oh man, it's bad. But shout out to all of those, because there'll be some
Reader Nation.
Yeah, like
Reader
my
Nation.
Well, and then my boys, 2 out of the 3 wear glasses. They all. So the joke is like, Dad, we've been wearing glasses our whole life.
Yeah.
So get over it.
You're all right.
You're all right.
Yeah.
And stuff. And so yes.
It's October.
It is
Firmly October
It is
now.
firmly October.
Like, what does that mean?
That means that we're in the 4th quarter of this year, which gets us closer to our favorite time of the year, which is Christmas. That's what it means
true.
to me.
That's
at
true.
least.
So if Christmas is heaven,
Christmas
we're
is heaven.
we're in purgatory. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
right now?
we're in that middle.
Like,
We're in that
Halloween purgatory.
It is. It's that middle place.
All right, so here's the thing. It's October, like firmly in October, a week in October. So all the living in Orlando, all the scary stuff is
Yeah.
on, like
Yeah.
Halloween Horror Nights for Universal and all. And I'm not throwing shade on Universal.
Yep.
But those signs do scare little kids. But anyways,
Man, they have them at SeaWorld now
and
too.
SeaWorld,
SeaWorld has.
But I got little kids.
Yeah.
So we're driving down the road, and it's like, all right, everybody look straight down. Everybody look to the left, because these billboards are like gonna give them nightmares.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, man, that's Halloween time.
Yeah.
This time of year is like, let's put our head down and get through.
Yeah,
like, there's
yeah.
some enjoyable things.
Yeah.
The weather's changing.
Yes.
And
Oh, yeah.
You know, all the fun smells and candles that my wife does and all
Yes,
that.
yeah.
But the scary stuff
is out.
And with little kids, yeah.
Well, for big kids too, Brent, because this is the time when movies, there's some scary movies that are out, as in celebration of Halloween.
This new Exorcist film.
Brother, okay, so Quo and I can't look at it. Like,
no, I can't either.
It is like, we're like, oh my gosh. And so, but there's some others, like when you start to see them, you go to any regular movie, and I thought, if you go to like a PG movie, I thought you were supposed to play PG.
No, not anymore.
Trailers, but yeah, dude, you can go to a PG or PG-13. Sorry for those who just think we should go to PG. But they're still playing these.
We went and saw a movie Chris and I did over the weekend, and they showed an extended trailer for this new whatever this new Exorcist film is.
Yeah.
Like extend, and it was
I didn't see that.
horrific. Like we were just
Yeah.
stuck, you know, and you're just like, look at it. But here's the deal: like the guy that stars in it is the guy from Hamilton, the guy who played
for real?
the villain in Hamilton, the guy that ended up shooting Hamilton, that actor. And so I'm going, wouldn't it be nice if you weren't in Exorcist?
Right,
like,
right, right.
You're Eliza. Where are we now? I mean, it just. I'm like, how did you go from
Bro,
that to like this? Your little girl's a demon possessed, whatever.
you know what? I think I saw they're in a house or something. They get trapped in a little house or whatever.
I don't know.
Yeah, I thought at the beginning.
That's why I'm going this time of year.
Yeah, man.
Give me a good candle.
Man.
Give me, like, my wife makes these pumpkin cookies.
Yeah,
chocolate.
man.
Oh, there's you. Give me that.
Yeah.
Maybe a little Halloween candy every now and then. And then let's just get through it.
Yes, sir. Let's do that. And you know what happens too? What I found is Thanksgiving doesn't get that much love either.
I love Thanksgiving.
I love Thanksgiving as well. But you have, like you talked about, the Halloween horror, and then we're preparing for that glorious day in heaven, Christmas. But in between, it's like Thanksgiving is here and gone.
In our house, what we do decorate for Christmas early, but Chris will, the week of Thanksgiving, the whole week is dedicated to hosting and the meal, and like she'll start baking and cooking and preparing food and make it draw it out over the course of 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
So yeah,
dude. So that's where we are, bro. Like that's the
season.
That's the season. So
at least we got college football.
Oh man, hey, we just need to be praying for our Bulldogs. We're still number 1, but we're having some. That last.
What day is this? We're recording this.
Yeah,
the day before it releases. Yeah, we're still number 1.
Yeah, we're still. Yes, yeah. We're out before Kentucky. Kentucky.
Yeah, this is a pre-Kentucky recording.
Yes. And so we might next week and
praying for a post-Kentucky hallelujah.
Yes, sir.
Hey, before we jump in, and we got a lot to cover today. It's gonna be awesome. We got a great conversation that you and I have prepared, but. We are in this season in our shop, Student Leadership University, and we put on obviously the Lift Tour and Youth Pastor Summit, but the Lift Tour, you're really busy right now in what we call prep trip season, where you're going and meeting with youth pastors all over the country in preparation for the Lift Tour, which will kick off in the spring. But just give us one little insight that we can look forward to about the Lift Tour.
Yeah.
And did I see a hologram? Those are my 2 questions.
Yes. Okay. So one, our theme this year is inverse. And so we're going to really look at like 4 countercultural claims that Jesus made that, we really want to just kind of deep dive in and just understand. And there are some things that Jesus talked about, how division gives birth to togetherness. And like, really, what does that look like? And what does it mean to really deny yourself and pick up your cross? So we're going to look at some really fun countercultural claims that Jesus made. That's why we got the word inverse. But to do that, as we are inspired by a lot of creative movies or things that we see, I love the Tron ride, Disney, but the whole kind of futuristic view, man, we're really doing some out of the box stuff this year. We got this little hologram, and now the person who's delivering the message on the hologram. I mean,
it's you.
A little scary.
You're beaming up. Hey, listen, if you get this hologram in the mail, folks,
it
all
is
the instructions. It's one of the coolest things. And if you don't get it in the mail, it'll be on our YouTube site, and you can see what it looks like there. But it is one of the most creative ways to communicate.
Is. And man, we were talking
through mail.
Yes, I think it's probably one of the most creative things, at least in my tenure, here at our organization. But there was this German circus that actually they replaced doing live animals at their show, and so they because they had some concerns over animal welfare and all of that, and so they, instead of having these live animals at their circus, what they did was they did a circus that was kind of like a hologram circus. And so just kind of looking at that, we kind of got into the shop and got together and thought about it. And when I tell you, when I saw it and I saw the first draft of it, I was like, okay, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And so I cannot wait for all of our friends to get it and to see it, and it really kind of gives. It's going to give everybody just a sneak peek
of what's
to come and how.
All right.
Crazy.
So if you're listening and you're a student ministry, or you've got a group or a group of friends or whatever it is, but you want to attend a Lift Tour, you can go to lifttour.com, and it has a list of how many cities?
We're at 12 cities.
12 cities this coming spring. So there'll be 12 stops, mostly across the southeast. So one will probably be close to if you're in that area. And 2 of California. Also, we had a kind of a early bird, super, whatever we called it. We had a earlier deadline that's already passed, in which you got the best price. But from what I understand, we can extend that a little bit.
Yeah.
If you're a listener of Chasing Elephants.
You have to be a listener of Chasing Elephants. And here's what we're going to do for you, because we love you so much. We want to see you at the Lift Tour. If you would go within the next 2 weeks, so between now and October 20th, and register and put in the promo code Chasing Elephants. And then put that in, and if you put that in, and so it's kind of an exclusive thing, bro. Yeah. Like, which I love, because now
an honor system.
And an honor system it is. But I'm just telling you guys, listen, after the 20th, you're paying. You're not paying that early bird rate. And so go and register right now. You can see all of the cities. You can see who's going to be and which city, and put in that Chasing Elephants promo code, and you'll get our September early bird rate. So
the best price you can get. Price you can get.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, one of the things we've been working on a series of conversations that I think are going to be. It's very fun.
Yeah.
It's very. It's hyper practical, in a sense, and we're just simply calling it a 7 Things series. And so we're going to take a few weeks here, several weeks here maybe, and walk through some lessons that can be learned from some unique environments. One of the best ways to learn, I think, is to put yourself in a different environment.
Yeah, man.
And so we're going to talk about wisdom. We're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about just ideas. We're going to talk all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But we're going to start off with one that I think is going to be very fun. You and I have traveled extensively.
Oh, brother.
We've spent a lot of time in airports and on airplanes. A lot of time in rental cars and Ubers. Somebody asked me what I do for a living, and I say I get in cars with strangers. That's what I do for a living. Because I feel like everywhere I go,
stay in strange beds.
I'm not going to say that.
Hotels, where we're traveling in hotels to do work, by the way.
So, but I always feel like I'm getting, we were in Egypt a couple weeks ago, and there was a driver that was there for me, and I got in at like 5 a.m. But I walked out, and it's just a guy who doesn't speak English.
Right.
And he's just holding a sign with my name misspelled. And I'm like, it's dark outside.
Right. I think that's
And I'm getting in a car it's just, this is my life. This is your life. So how many miles do you think you've traveled at this point?
Golly, Brent. I mean, over the time of all the years of travel.
Yeah, I mean, you've been hustling for 8 years with SOU.
Golly. I would say, man, it was close to 2 million, probably. What'd you think? Well, I'm thinking even before, probably 1 million before coming to SLU. I have to look at that.
Yeah.
It's been...
I know I crossed 2 million. It's hard to get to 2 million.
Well, 1 million. I'm thinking of even before.
Yeah.
Before coming, and then if I add what we did, what we're doing now and stuff.
For 23 years I've been on the road, and I know I've got, I'm like a 2 million miler with Delta, but then there's like, probably 400,000 or 500,000 miles with other
that's the challenge.
As well.
And when I was in Atlanta, it was all Delta. Then I moved down here, and I did not take the dedication like you did.
Well, now it's not worth it anymore.
Yeah, and so I would say let's say right for myself, then probably right under 1 million.
So let's say close to 3 million between the two of us. Definitely 3 million between the two of us. So 3 million miles. You've been on the road full time for 8 years, but you traveled before that. I've been on the road full time for 23. So 30 years on the road between the two of us. 3 million miles in the air.
Yeah.
There's a lot that can be learned.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't spend that much time on airplanes and in airports without seeing some strange things, without having some off the off the beaten path type experiences.
Yep.
I think you see the best and the worst of people in airports.
Oh yes, sir.
And on flights, and of course now with things, people going viral on planes, people want to act a fool on flight.
They do,
just so they can go viral, which makes no sense to me.
Well,
but
it's all about the clicks and the likes.
It is, man. People that chasing clout and chasing clicks are nothing but a bunch of like they need to step into the inverse.
They do need to step into the inverse.
So what our first 7 things conversation is 7 things that we've learned from 30 years of travel.
Yeah.
7 things we've learned from 3 million miles in the air.
Yeah.
And so I know you got several, I got several, but we're going to limit it to between the two of us 7.
Got it.
So what's your first one?
My first one, just don't assume. Every airport is different. TSA and pre-check doesn't mean that it's going to be available every place. One thing I remember is doing a late flight out of Atlanta when I moved down here, and I just assumed that clearing TSA pre-check was open. But after like 9 o'clock, if you're doing a flight after 9 o'clock, you have to go through the regular security line, and I was already close, because I figured I had that time because I was going to be able to get through. And no, man, I almost missed my flight. And what I realized is also there's other airports where the process, everybody doesn't have clear. And then sometimes you can go to certain airports and pre-check, you can get in and out just like that. And everybody has pre-check.
Right. Well, we're a little spoiled on the clear thing too because it started here in Orlando.
Exactly.
So they've got it down.
They got it down. So I think as a leader, you learn not to assume. You still need to make sure that you do a little bit of homework on things, even if you are accustomed to a certain rhythm.
Right.
Or you have certain benefits that you have, you still can't assume that everything is the same thing.
Right.
And so I think that's what one of the things you've learned is that every airport has a different experience.
Right.
So, number 1 for me is don't assume.
So we're talking about 7 things we've learned from 30 years or 3 million miles in the air. But what we're also saying is these are transferable to life
as
and leadership in your journey. So you would say that an assumption always most of the time is going to lead to a negative outcome.
Yeah.
Paul would say in 1 Thessalonians, he said to test everything. And another way he could have said that was assume nothing.
Right. Exactly.
And so anyways, I love that one. Love that one.
And so that's been number 1 for me. What about you?
Number 1 for me is don't eat sushi at the Philadelphia airport after 10 p.m. That's my number 1.
That's good, man. That's good.
So we've all had delays and canceled flights, and you're hungry. And here's the thing: when you're hungry and you're tired, you make bad decisions. And so it was like, I don't know, 10, 11 o'clock at night, and my connection was delayed, and we weren't going to get out of there till after midnight at least to come home.
Yeah.
And so I'm walking, I'm like, man, I haven't eaten all day since lunch, I think, and it's like 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night. So I'm walking through the airport trying to find something that's open. The only thing that was lit up was a sushi, sushi place in the air. And I went, I know it's risky.
Yeah.
But I did it. And I'll just say this: I paid for it.
Yeah.
But my takeaway from that is, don't let fatigue determine your decisions. Whenever we allow the circumstances that have caused us to be in a fatigued state,
that's good,
to determine the rubric by which we make decisions, it will always lead to consequences.
Yeah.
You'll always regret it.
Yeah.
You'll always regret making decisions in the middle of, because when you're fatigued, when you're like, for example, when I was tired and hungry, I couldn't see anything past being tired and hungry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I made a bad decision. And so, my takeaway is don't let fatigue determine decisions.
Yeah, and it reminds me of what Paul says in 1 Corinthians 10 and 23, when he basically says, like, everything that is lawful or permissible is not beneficial.
Yeah.
And just because you can't eat sushi doesn't mean
you can do it.
You can, but you should.
You can. What's your second one?
So my second one, man, is loyalty and longevity has benefits. And you think about, I think about for yourself, like, as you have had this long-standing relationship with Delta, and there's benefits to that. Obviously outside of the priority and the upgrades, and the family access that you have, and that you can have as far as points that you can give for family members or whatever. There's something about having longevity with something. And I think as a leader, so often it is easy for us to take paths that has the least amount of resistance. And but man, there's something about really sticking and staying with something through the good, the bad, and ups and downs, and changing of programs. Delta has changed the way.
That loyalty may not be, that loyalty's getting tested. I'll just say that.
But there are benefits to longevity. I've always, on a personal note, I've always been a person who, I said, man, wherever I'm planted, whether it's ministry / employment, vocation, I want to be planted right there. I want to kind of stick and stay. And I'm not saying that if you do have to move different places, that's a bad thing. But I am saying there are some benefits of seeing things in the midst of, because there's 3 seasons of every leadership journey. You're gonna have seasons of great momentum, where everything is just on the up and up. Then you're gonna have those seasons of decline, where it's like, man, it's like the Titanic. Everything is just falling off the rails. And then you have those seasons of plateau, where it's just like more of the same. And how do you navigate those 3 seasons? But there is something awesome, Brent, in my humble opinion, about just kind of sticking through every season, and the benefits of longevity.
Well, it's a longevity is a rarity, for sure, and people who have longevity with whether it's a ministry or job or whatever the place they serve, or marriage or whatever, it always looks, there's always something, and I'm gonna use a bad word, but there's always something that is envious about that.
Yeah.
In other words, I look at somebody that's been married for 50 plus years, and a husband and a wife holding hands still after 50 years of marriage, and I go, I'm a little envious of that. That's awesome. I want that. Or you look at somebody who, like Nikki Hoffpower, who celebrated being at SLU for 25 years, and honored her this year at SLU 301, and I was like, I kind of, I'm almost have that, but I mean, I want that too. I mean,
exactly.
Like it was envious that there's something about longevity that's attractive.
Absolutely.
And I think that has to do with some pretty, well, that's a whole different conversation, but there's a pretty good biblical argument to be made to calling and commitment and things of that nature.
Yeah. What about you? What's your next?
My second one is, or let's see, you've done one, you've done 2, I've done 1. So the 4th one is this. Don't pick a fight with older people because they hit back. That's my second one, or the 4th one. Don't pick a fight with old people because they hit back. And here's what I mean by that. So
I didn't know about this. I can't wait for this one, ladies and gentlemen. I'm with you on this.
It's a crack of dawn flight.
Okay.
I'm on the first thing smoking. I can't remember where I was coming out of, where I was going, but it was dark. Got on the airplane. It was 6 o'clock in the morning flight, 5:30 a.m. flight, something like that. Got an upgrade. Never don't pay for the upgrade. But not gonna say no if they give it to me.
Right.
And so got the upgrade. I was a window seat, so I know nobody was gonna step over me. I was, and there's only 2 seats in the row.
Okay.
So I was asleep before we ever took off.
Yeah.
Like I had my hood over my head. I was locked in.
Yep.
I wasn't gonna wake up till wheels down.
Right.
And I'm asleep, and you know how you have those moments where you hear something and you go, am I dreaming or is it happening? Or
right.
And I just hear this thump, like this.
Oh wow.
And I thought I was dreaming. But eventually I woke up.
Yeah.
And I look next to me, and the guy next to me has taken his hardback book, and he is beating it against the seat in front of him. Now the guy, and he's lost his ever-loving mind. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. He's banging on a seat. What happened is the guy in front of him had leaned the seat back.
Oh man, I've seen.
For heaven's sake, it's first class.
Right.
There's plenty of room.
Right.
And he didn't like the guy, so he's beating the back of the seat with.
Are you serious?
So I wake up and I look at him, and he never makes eye contact with me, and before I can say anything, the guy in front of him stands up calmly, and it's a guy that had to be in his mid-70s.
Yeah.
I mean, just this guy's in his probably 40s that's hitting the seat and twice the guy's size. And this elderly man who's half the size of the guy hitting the seat stands up, and he just walks around the seat. And I got a front row, a backstage pass for this. And so I'm sitting there, and this elderly guy balls up his fist, and he goes, "Sir, you are assaulting me. And I've allowed you to assault me.
Wow.
But I will not allow you to assault me anymore, so hear me clearly." And he leaned down. This guy, this 70-something-year-old man, he goes, "Listen, assault me again." And he holds his fist up right in the guy's face, and he goes, "And I'll assault you back."
That's awesome.
I'm there going, "You're an OG, dude. I know who you are. I want to roll like you one day."
That is so good.
And this guy didn't, and he just didn't say anything. And the elderly guy goes back and sits down, and finally the guy that lost his mind turns and looks at me, and he doesn't say anything. He just turns and looks at me with a surprised look on his face, and I just said to him, "I think he's serious."
Wow. That is wow.
So, and they all get escorted off the plane when we landed by the authorities and security and everything. But one thing you see if you travel long enough, people lose their mind. They lose their temper. So the ability to travel has taught me patience.
Yep.
And it's taught me how to control my emotions.
Yeah.
Because you have no control over the fact that you were going to get home at 5.
Yep.
You were going to get to kiss your kids goodnight.
Yep.
You were going to get to have family dinner. You were going to, and now all that's gone. You're not even going to see your wife. She'll be asleep by the time you get home.
Yeah.
And so you have no control over those circumstances.
Yeah.
None. And so you can't lose your ever-loving mind. You can't take a hardback book and just start swinging away, because the truth is, you got to control your emotions. I love what the book of Proverbs says. People with understanding control their anger. Well, I understand.
Yeah.
I didn't for a long time, but I do now after 23 years of it.
Yeah.
I understand that I don't have any control over air traffic control.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it goes on to say, a hot temper shows great foolishness.
Yeah.
I've never seen somebody lose their temper in the airport, and I've seen a lot of it. And it looked good.
Right.
Pretty people look ugly when they lose their temper in the airport.
Yeah. And my next one will kind of go with that. But on that, bro, how many times have we been in the airport or people are boarding a flight and they'll be like, "Brent or Jeff," and then or they'll do it after we get off the flight. And so I'm thinking to myself always,
they were watching the whole time.
You don't ever want your good to be evil spoken of. You don't ever want your witness to be impacted by a moment of carnality when you're in your flesh. And so I'm always cognizant of the fact when you travel a lot and we do what we do all around the world, obviously people know us. And so, God forbid, man, one of our SLU students see us beating, and losing our cool when we're standing before them telling them, this is how you lead at the feet of Jesus. And so man, that's good. It kind of goes with my next one that I had, which is kind of what we always talk.
Which would be number 5.
This is number 5, yes. My number 5 for us, which we call the 11th commandment of SLU, which is blessed are the flexible. Because what do we know? Delays, cancellations, and rerouting will take place. It's not if, but it's when, and it will. And that as a leader, one, blessed are the flexible. You got to be flexible for a lot of what you just articulated. But then 2, I think the leadership principle in that is great leaders learn how to pivot. I think you have to know in life curveballs are going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, in all the amazing ministry, Brent, we get to do, man, we'll get in a room and we'll have even contingency plans. We'll say, here's plan A, B, C. And then you get a curveball that's a D, E, or and so blessed are the flexibles, what we always teach our team members and even our students. And I think I've learned that in the realm of traveling.
When you have that kind of attitude, probably the great benefit of that attitude, Jeff, is when you go, I need to be flexible in light of circumstances I can't control.
Exactly.
It positions you to then redeem the time for something else.
Exactly.
So if you got, for example, if your flight gets delayed, you just, okay, well, I'll immediately go, what work can I do now?
Right. There it is.
So that I can redeem this time. Yeah. Immediately. That's my first reaction. I never watch a movie. Now I have a plan for that. I reward myself. Yeah. So I work all the way to an event. I work all the way through the event. And then I work all the way up until the point where I get on the flight to come home. And then I reward myself for working the entire time by watching something, taking a nap, listening to something, podcast stuff on the way home. So my way home is the only time I'm doing that. Yeah, like I'm not showing up at an event having just watched a 2-hour movie. Right. So, anyways, but if you take that mentality, it goes, okay, so now I have margin to accomplish. Yeah. This amount of work. Yeah. I can return these phone calls. I can sit down and write this. I can sit down and read this. Yeah. If you don't have that mentality, you just sit there mad.
Yeah, you do, brother.
And then you eat sushi.
Yes. I mean, I think about it when I lost half of my dissertation. Most of it I rewrote a lot of it, in airports, on planes. Yeah. And now the people sitting next to me probably didn't like me having books open and highlighters and my laptop open, but I did that. So that I love that. But yeah, so kind of going with, my 6 goes with your 5. And so, my 5 goes with your 4. And so what's 6 for you?
Number 6, don't fly with airplanes that use duct tape to take care of their planes. That's 6 for me. If there's duct tape on the plane, just go ahead and go, it's not for me. Hey, man. I got a story.
Yeah, please. I need to know this one.
There's this little town in Arkansas, and they don't have an airport. Yeah. They have a landing strip. And there's like a little building there. Yeah. And there's one little airline. It's out of business now. One little airline. Yeah. And they had I think it was 6, 10, and 12 seat planes, and they was the propeller planes. Okay. Like the nice planes had 2, and then the other ones had one. Those kind of planes.
It's crop duster planes.
Basically. And the kind where the pilot doesn't use an intercom because all he has to do is turn around and go, all right, we'll be there in a few hours. But so anyways, I'd been privileged to preach at an area wide. I think it was a Disciple Now, and I had the morning flight out after the event was over, and I showed up. It's the only time I've ever flown where there's no security. Yeah, there's nothing. Yeah. There's no TSA pre-check. Yeah, there's no ticket.
Really?
No ticket. They show up and you give them your name and they're like, cool, you're good.
They check you off a list.
Just check the list. No computers, nothing.
That's crazy.
So I get on this airplane and I think it seats about 10.
Okay.
And it's not full. There's 6 or 7 of us in there. And we take now the pilot looked like he was probably in his mid-20s, and the co-pilot was still going through puberty. And so we take off. We take off, and I go, man, this is going to be a long flight because it's a lot of headwind, and you're in this little plane. You're trying to get to a real airport.
You feel everything in those.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. So I just bundle up. It's freezing outside, and I'm like, I'm going to just sleep. So I tried to sleep, and I'm sitting there with my eyes closed, leaned up against whatever seat I was in. And all of a sudden, the door comes open.
Midair, in the air.
Oh, yeah, we're at 7,000 feet.
Oh, okay.
Door just swings open, and stuff goes flying everywhere. And, of course, people start screaming.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, now there's something wrong with me, Jeff. And let me just side note. I don't panic in those situations. Not because I'm awesome. Yeah. It's just because I'm broken. Yeah. I should panic. There's a part of me that goes, we're gonna die. I mean, maybe I should send a text message. I mean, I just don't.
You're crazy, dude.
I don't get worked up.
That's awesome.
It's a good gear, but it can be a bad gear. It's just not me. I'm pretty even keeled and
calm in the middle of the
different situation.
Yes.
And so people are screaming and shouting and cursing, and some people had a lot to live for, and it was kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie. So but you know who didn't panic?
The pilot.
The pilot.
Yeah.
He turned the plane a certain way so that the door came back and closed. It wasn't closed, but it was.
Oh, wow.
And he literally leaned the plane that way all the way back to the airfield.
Y'all went back to where
the airfield, okay. Yeah, because we were only about 7,000 feet in the air. And the co-pilot gets out, walks around, and at this point I noticed there's duct tape on this plane.
But there was already
duct tape on the plane in different places. I just not noticed it before. And he comes around to the door that was shut. He looks at it a little bit, and then he slams it shut, pushes it to make sure it's closed, and we take off again.
Did he put duct tape on that one?
No, he didn't. Duct tape. It clicked. But I'm like, I'm on a plane with duct tape right now, like it's held together by duct tape. But I wrote down from that experience.
Wait, well, I guess if you're not screaming while the door is open, certainly you're going to get back up there.
I'm going to go home.
Yeah, did anybody say, hey, no thank you, I'll catch the...
2 people got off.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah. 2 people got off. But here's the thing. I want to go home.
Yeah.
I'm just, to me, and this is why your brain, like I should get off that plane. That's the smart thing to do.
Yeah, I would have.
Don't fly on a plane with duct tape.
Yeah.
But there's a part of you that goes, what are the odds of it happening again? That's what I was thinking, man. Like my brain's broken.
Man,
we're good. It can't happen twice.
It can't. I mean,
right?
Surely it won't.
Surely it won't happen again. Yes. So we take off, man, again, and we get to the left field. But I wrote down, panic never solves problems.
That's good. I like that.
And we live in a world where, and this is just my opinion, and it's a subjective idea from a guy who has his PhD in historical, in history and has done historical studies, and so I feel like I'm a little bit qualified to say this. I'm not saying that in an arrogant way.
Yeah,
I'm just. But we live in a day, in an age in which outrage has become a religion.
That's good.
We live in a time in which people have made their outrage their worship. And the reality is, all that outrage, if it's not channeled right, all that energy, it never solves any problems. Because people who just run around panicking never solve a problem.
That's good.
We've talked about this. We've talked about the civil rights movement. The civil rights movement did not come to fruition because of panic. It came to fruition because of calm determination and a solid strategy led by an inspirational leader. I mean, we know the strategy wasn't out on the streets. It was a chalkboard in a room with a small group of other leaders and a lot of prayer.
Yeah.
So,
and there was that calm, and there was calm in the midst of the chaos.
Yep.
When all of the chaos was going on and people wanted to retaliate in a more violent way, Dr. King stood flat-footed, even while getting criticism from other African-American leaders around the country, stood foot and said, in their words, if you are not willing to be nonviolent, then you cannot join this movement.
And when he died, what happened?
It ran him up.
Cities all over the country burned. And I'm not saying that people should not have been angered. They were. They should have been.
Yeah.
I agree with the anger.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, burning a building down doesn't solve a problem.
Absolutely.
I can understand why you want to do it.
Yeah, the response you get. I mean, you understand.
I understand.
That, the emotion
it's
of
understandable.
That. Yeah. But it does. There's no net gain.
There's no net gain. It's not solving it.
Yeah.
So like, people panic. In a world of outrage. Right now, you and I were very public. Let's talk. If we're going real talk, let's talk.
Yeah.
You and I are very public. There's a difference between the statement Black Lives Matter and the organization.
Absolutely.
I sympathize, and I think a form of weeping with those who weep was when those marches were happening and those and some people go, those riots. Well, yeah, a lot of them did turn into riots, but when those marches were happening and there were real people, that statement resonated with their soul. And so I think if I'm going to weep with those who weep, okay, I'll say Black Lives Matter. Now, I'd never give $1 to the organization.
Yeah, sure.
And
likewise, same.
And if you would look, you look back on the short history of Black Lives Matter. They haven't built one school. Mm-hmm. They haven't built one outreach center, community center. They haven't given to this. They haven't. It's been what has happened other than outrage.
Right.
The places, and you can trace this throughout our country, where real change has happened when someone goes, I understand the outrage.
Right.
I understand the emotion.
Yeah.
But let's walk into this and go, okay, how do we actually solve a problem?
Yeah.
How do we get from where we are to a place where we don't need the outrage anymore?
Yeah.
That's the goal. So panic doesn't solve problems.
Yeah.
It may raise the need for us to solve problems, but panic in and of itself doesn't solve problems.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 1,000%. And in reference to
Did I just get us in trouble?
No, I mean, well, probably with some, but it's fine. And so, but I think here's the deal: the ideology of the statement was actually one of the motivating factors in the '60s for the civil rights movement. It was just that it was very poignant and dedicated to what it was. But no, I love, Brent, this idea. I think it's awesome about, we live in a time where outrage has become our religion on a multiplicity of ways. And we can spend a whole series on that. But no, panic will never solve problems. I think great strategy and clear vision
and healthy leadership.
Those are the things that solve problems. But first and foremost, having a gospel-centered approach to that is necessary. So,
all right. Do we got a fireworks show with the last one, number 7?
Well, I wish we would have done that because that was fireworks right there. I mean, I can't beat the duct tape play. So I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be, let's lower the expectation. Number 7 is,
Look at those readers while he says it, ladies and gentlemen. Look at those readers.
There we go. And so, all right. So my 7th was just, you learn how to think beyond the box. And here's what I mean by that. Sometimes I've learned that you can get to a certain place by flying into a different airport. Because we look at, let's just take, if we're trying to get to Chattanooga, I'll be in Chattanooga here soon, and so I'm going to fly. You can fly to Chattanooga.
You can.
You're not directly go to Atlanta.
We're here to fly into Atlanta and drive, isn't it? There you go.
There it is.
Yeah.
And so instead of flying to Chattanooga Airport, I'm going to fly to Atlanta and I'll drive there. I do that also when we're doing our events in Augusta. You can fly to Augusta. You can fly to Chattanooga. You can fly to Chattanooga and Augusta, yes. But, there is another way to think about it. And so we've even done that, Brent, where we're trying to get to a certain city. And so we'll say, hey, okay, I know the traditional path is to fly to a city, have a layover, fly to that city. But can we be creative if time is of the essence and we're on a certain time restraint, can we get to that city quicker by kind of being kind of thinking outside of the box? And so I think I've learned through our years of travel is that sometimes there is a non-traditional way to accomplish a particular goal or task. And I think as leaders we sometimes get stuck in our traditional way of doing things. But what are some beyond the box ways?
Well, let me ask you this, Jeff. How do you get to a place? How do you go, okay, if you were to recognize I'm stuck in this, I'm used to taking this layover and this flight, what do you do to challenge that process? Is it getting a fresh pair of eyes on it to help you think it through? Yeah,
absolutely. Because they're a prime example. I think when we were starting Brookhaven lift, and so we were going to fly into Jackson. Mississippi was the closest, and I think it was one of our staff members at the time who said, hey, we all kind of looking at a map because we're trying to do some of our prep trips. We'll hit a couple of cities at a time. And so one of our staff members, we all kind of got in the room and we were mapping. I was like, man, when we look at it, it's gonna get me here at this time. I'm gonna miss my window. And so we all just kind of got in the room and we pulled up a map and just kind of started researching. And someone said, hey, you ever think about flying into New Orleans? Because if you fly into New Orleans, there's a direct that will get you from Orlando to New Orleans, and you can drive about an hour, 45 minutes and get to Brookhaven that way. And so there's something, Brent, about having a collaborative learning and team environment where you get fresh eyes and on the vision, and see how we can come together in a collaborative environment to say, hey, here is the best product that we can put out there. And so, I think you challenge the process with a group of leaders to help you with
I love that. That's good.
So that's 7 for me. Just sometimes as leaders, what travel has taught me is the value of thinking beyond the box. And so
I love that.
Yep.
7 things we've learned, ladies and gentlemen, from 30 some odd years on the road, 3 million miles in the air, a lot of planes, a lot of airports, a lot of hiccups, a lot of.
And I love to know if anybody else had the duct tape plane, brother. Hey man,
the airline went out of business.
You think? So, well, ladies and gentlemen, as always, man, it's such a great time to connect with you, and we love for you to do all that you can to share our podcast with people that you know. We want you to give us a rating, and love to hear from you. And you can, as always, follow us. You can follow me at I am Jeff Wallace. You can follow my brother at
Brent A. Crow, and you can follow our organization at SLU Lead, at SLU Lead. We're so grateful that you tuned in, and until we meet again, wander well and shine like stars.
Take care.